Morning begins again, but this time the house does not feel the same. Linda stands in the living room holding her phone, staring at a message she just sent. The message reads that she has been calling Jude and he is not picking up, and she is asking if everything is okay. She lowers the phone slowly and looks toward the door. Moments later, Jude walks in. Linda immediately turns to him and walks closer, asking where he has been and why he has not been answering her calls. Jude removes his jacket calmly and says that he had a lot to deal with and that his phone battery died. Linda watches him carefully and asks why this keeps happening lately. Jude pauses briefly, then tells her that she is overthinking things and that nothing is wrong. Linda takes a step closer and tells him that she is not overthinking, that she just wants to understand why he suddenly feels distant. Jude looks at her and responds that he is not distant, that he is just stressed, and that she should not turn everything into a problem. Linda nods slowly, forcing herself to accept his explanation. She tells him that she is only asking because she cares and that she does not want anything to go wrong between them. Jude gives a short nod and walks past her. Linda remains standing there, watching him walk away, her expression slowly losing certainty. Later that day, Linda walks into Martha's room without knocking. She finds Martha seated on her bed, scrolling through her phone. Linda smiles and says that she has been looking for her and that she wants them to go out together to finalize some wedding arrangements. Martha does not respond immediately. She continues looking at her phone for a moment before finally lifting her head. She tells Linda that she is not in the mood to go out and that Linda can handle it. Linda's smile fades slightly as she asks if everything is okay. Martha shrugs and says that everything is fine, that she just wants to rest. Linda sits beside her and says that she feels like something has changed between them. Martha looks at her directly and responds that nothing has changed and that Linda is imagining things again. Linda nods slowly and says that she just misses how things used to feel. Martha does not reply. Instead, she looks away. Later, Linda stands outside a small event planning office, reviewing documents. Two women stand a short distance away, speaking quietly to each other. Linda does not notice them at first. One of the women glances in her direction and says that she has something about Linda's fiancé and her sister being seen together recently. The second woman responds, asking if it is true. The first woman shrugs and says that she does not know, but that people have been talking. Linda freezes. She turns slowly, her expression confused. She steps closer and asks them what they mean. The women immediately become uncomfortable. One of them tells Linda that it is probably nothing and that people talk too much. Linda looks at them, her voice steady, but slightly strained, and says that she wants them to repeat exactly what they had. The woman hesitates, then says that people are saying Jude has been seen in places with Martha and not in a way that looks normal. Linda shakes her head immediately and says that it is not true, that people are just making up stories. She forces a small smile, thanks them, and walks away. That evening, Linda meets Daniel again. This time, she does not smile immediately. She looks at him and tells him that people are talking and that she wants to know if he has heard anything. Daniel looks at her for a moment, then asks her what exactly she heard. Linda explains what the women said, then quickly adds that she does not believe it. Daniel nods slowly and tells her that he has been trying to tell her the same thing. Linda's expression tightens as she asks him directly if he truly believes that Jude and Martha are involved. Daniel looks at her and says that he does not want to believe it, but everything he has seen points in that direction. Linda shakes her head again and says that it does not make sense. Daniel responds calmly, telling her that betrayal never makes sense when it comes from the people you trust the most. Linda looks away, her mind trying to hold on to what she still believes. Night falls. Linda walks into the living room and finds her mother seated with a serious expression. Martha stands nearby. Linda senses immediately that something is wrong. She asks what is going on. Her mother looks at her and tells her to sit down. Linda hesitates, then slowly sits. Her mother takes a breath and says that there is something she needs to hear, and that it is better she hears it now than from outsiders. Linda's face tightens as she asks what it is. Her mother looks directly at her and says that arrangements have been made and that Jude will no longer be marrying her. Linda stares at her, unable to process the words. She asks what she means. Her mother continues, saying clearly that Jude is going to marry Martha instead. Linda's eyes were fixed on her mother, as if she is waiting for the words to change. They do not. Her mother repeats it slower this time, making sure there is no misunderstanding. She says that the decision has already been made and that the family cannot afford disgrace or confusion at this stage. Linda's lips part slightly as she tries to speak, but the words do not come immediately. When they finally do, her voice is controlled but strained. She asks how such a decision could be made without her, and how the man she is supposed to marry is now being given to someone else as if she was never part of the story. Her mother responds firmly that this is not about feelings, that it is about what is best for the family, and that Linda needs to be strong and accept it. Linda slowly turns her head toward Martha. Martha stands still, her posture straight, her face calm. Linda asks her directly if this is true, if she agreed to this. Martha does not hesitate. She says yes, that she agreed, and there is no point pretending anymore. Linda studies her face carefully, as if searching for something familiar, something that still looks like her sister. She does not find it. She asks Martha when it started. Martha responds that it does not matter when it started, that what matters is that it is happening now. Linda lets out a small breath and nods slowly in realization. She looks down at her hands, then back up again, and she says that all this time she was asking questions, trying to understand what was wrong, and both of them stood in front of her and told her nothing was happening. No one responds. Later that evening, Linda steps outside the house and finds Jude standing near his car. Linda walks toward him with steady steps. She stops in front of him and asks him directly if everything her mother said is true. Jude looks at her. He nods slowly. Linda asks him when he was planning to tell her, or if he was going to stand beside her at the altar and still say nothing. Jude exhales and says that things changed, that he did not plan for it to happen this way, and that he did not know how to tell her. Linda takes a step closer and asks him what exactly changed, because from where she stands, nothing changed except the truth being hidden. Jude responds that his feelings changed, that he found himself connecting with Martha in a way he did not expect. Linda listens without interrupting. Then she asks him if all the moments they shared meant nothing to him. Jude looks away briefly before saying that they meant something, but not enough to ignore what he feels now. Linda nods slowly. She tells him that the problem is not that his feelings changed. The problem is that he stayed, he pretended, and he let her continue building a future that he had already walked away from. Jude does not respond. Linda looks at him one last time and says that the most painful part is not losing him, but realizing that he was no longer hers long before she found out. She turns and walks away. Jude remains where he is, watching her leave, but making no attempt to stop her. The wedding hall is filled with movement, elegance, and carefully arranged celebration. Guests sit in neat rows, dressed in rich fabrics and bright colors, their attention focused toward the front where the ceremony is about to be completed. Decorations stretch across the hall, golden drapes, polished floors reflecting overhead chandeliers, floral arrangements placed with precision. At the altar, the bride stands still. Her hands are clasped together in front of her, her posture straight and composed. A thin veil rests over her face, soft enough to reveal the outline of her features. From a distance, she appears calm, but as she breathes, there is a slight tightness in her chest, a controlled stillness that does not come from peace. Beside her stands Jude. His posture is firm but not relaxed. His eyes do not settle in one place for long. He glances ahead, then briefly to the side, then forward again, as though holding himself in place. The officiating moment approaches. The room leans into expectation. Then, the doors at the back of the hall open. At first, only light enters. Then a figure steps into view. Linda. She stands at the entrance, her posture steady, her expression calm, her eyes fixed directly ahead. She begins to walk forward. At first, only a few guests notice. A head turns, then another. One by one, attention shifts away from the altar and toward the aisle. Linda continues moving. Her gaze does not move from the front. At the altar, the bride lifts her head slightly. Through the thin veil, her eyes search forward, and then they stop. They meet Linda's. For a moment, both women remain still. Linda's face does not change. Her expression remains composed. She takes another step forward, then another. Each movement closes the distance between them. Jude's body stiffens slightly. His eyes shift toward Linda, then back to Martha, then forward again. Linda stops just a few feet away from them. The entire room watches. Linda looks directly at Martha, her voice steady as she speaks. She asks, "So you still went ahead to marry him?" The question stays in the air. Martha does not respond immediately. She holds Linda's gaze. Jude stands beside her, his silence heavier now. Linda continues, her voice still calm, but firmer now. "You stood beside me, you watched everything, and you still walked into this." Martha finally pats her lips slightly, but no words came out. Her eyes shift for a brief second, then return to Linda. Jude exhales slowly, his voice low as he attempts to speak. Linda listens, but the words stop. Linda does not look at him. She keeps her eyes on Martha. Linda stands there, looking at both of them. She does not wait for answers anymore. She does not ask another question. She simply looks at them one last time, then turns and walks out of the hall. The car comes to a stop in front of the house. Linda sits inside for a moment before opening the door. Her hands rest on her lap. She finally steps out. Her movements are slow. She walks toward the house. She opens the door and walks in. She takes a few steps forward and stops. Her eyes move across the room, trying to connect this space to the reality she just left behind. Linda enters her room and closes the door behind her. Her eyes fall on the bed. The dress she had prepared for her own wedding is still there, neatly folded. She walks toward it slowly. Her fingers reach out and touch the fabric. She lifts it slightly, holding it in her hands. For a moment, she looks at it as if it belongs to someone else. Then she sits down on the edge of the bed. Her hands remain on the dress, gripping it tighter now. She begins to speak to herself. She says, "I was ready. I did everything right. I waited. I trusted. I believed him." Her voice starts to break, but she continues. "I stood beside her. I gave her everything, and she still chose this." Her grip tightens again. Then she asks the question she cannot answer. What did I do to deserve this? Her shoulders drop slightly. Her body begins to give in to what she has been holding back, and this time she does not stop it. Later that evening, there is a knock on the door. Linda does not respond at first. The knock comes again. This time, she walks slowly to the door and opens it. Daniel stands outside. He looks at her carefully, taking in everything without asking immediately. Linda steps aside and lets him in. He walks into the room and turns to face her. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Then Linda says, "You were right." Daniel exhales slowly and tells her that being right about something like this does not make it any better. Linda nods. She tells him that she kept defending them, even when everything was already pointing in another direction. Daniel looks at her and says, "You trusted them. That's not a mistake." Linda shakes her head slightly and responds, "It feels like one now." Daniel takes a step closer and tells her, "No, the mistake belongs to the people who broke that trust, not the one who gave it." Linda looks at him, her eyes searching for something steady to hold on to. Then she says, "They didn't just lie to me, they replaced me." Daniel pauses for a moment, then says carefully, "What they did says everything about them, not about you." Linda looks away again. Night settles fully. The house becomes still. Linda sits alone on the floor beside her bed. The lights are off. Only a faint glow from outside enters through the window. She is no longer crying the way she did before. Her face is wet, but her expression has changed. She stares ahead. Her breathing is steady now. She whispers, barely audible, "It's over." She leans her head slightly against the bed. Her eyes remain open. Morning light enters through the window. Linda is already awake. She sits upright on the bed, her back resting lightly against the wall. Her eyes are open, steady, and not searching for anything anymore. She stands up slowly and walks toward the mirror. She stops in front of it and looks at herself for a long moment. Her eyes move across her reflection, as if she is seeing herself properly for the first time. Then she speaks clearly, enough to hear herself. She says, "You ignored everything." Her reflection stares back at her. She continues, "You saw the signs and you explained them away." She pauses, her face tightening slightly. Then she says, "You lost them before they left." Her shoulders straighten a little. She takes a small breath and adds, "And you lost yourself before that." She holds her own gaze for a few seconds longer. Then she turns away from the mirror. Later that day, Linda sits across from Daniel at a quiet cave. She holds a cup in her hands, but she does not drink from it. Daniel watches her carefully, waiting for her to speak first. Linda looks at him and says, "I kept thinking something was wrong, but I didn't want to believe it." Daniel nods slightly and asks her what she thinks now. Linda looks down briefly, then back at him. She says, "Now I think I was trying to protect something that was already gone." Daniel leans forward slightly and tells her, "You weren't protecting it. You were holding on to what it used to be." Linda nods slowly. Then she says, "He changed, and I kept adjusting myself to match it." Daniel looks at her and responds, "That's what people do when they're afraid of losing someone." Linda's expression tightens slightly. She says, "But I still lost him." Daniel pauses, then tells her, "You didn't lose him. He walked away." Linda looks at him directly now. She asks, "Then why does it feel like I'm the one who failed?" Daniel answers without hesitation. He says, "Because you invested your time, your trust, your plans, and when it ended, all of that feels wasted." Linda listens carefully. Daniel continues, "But it wasn't wasted. It showed who you are. What they did showed who they are." Linda's grip on the cup loosens slightly. She exhales slowly and says, "So what do I do with all of this now?" Daniel looks at her steadily and says, "You stop blaming yourself and you start choosing yourself again." Zara does not respond immediately, but this time she does not reject what he says. In a different house, Martha stands in front of a mirror. She adjusts her outfit carefully. Everything about her appearance is perfect, but her expression is not. Behind her, Jude sits on the edge of the bed, looking down at his phone. He glances up briefly, then looks back down again. Martha notices. She turns slightly and asks him why he has been acting distant since the wedding. Jude responds that nothing is wrong and that she is overthinking. Martha watches him for a moment, then asks him directly if he regrets what he did. Jude pauses. He does not answer immediately. Then he says that what is done, and that there is no point going back to it. Martha's expression shifts slightly. She asks him again, this time more firmly, if he regrets leaving Linda. Jude essays and says, I made my choice. Martha looks at him closely. Then she asks, is that the same as not regretting it? Jude does not respond. He looks away. Martha turns back toward the mirror. Her reflection stares back at her, and for the first time, she does not look completely satisfied. Linda walks into the living room. Her mother is seated, reviewing something in her hands. Martha stands near the window. Jude is there too. All of them turn when Linda enters. She walks forward and stops at the center of the room. She looks at all of them, one after the other. Then she speaks. Her voice is calm as she says, I have spent days trying to understand what happened, trying to find where I went wrong. She pauses briefly, then continues, but I did not go wrong. I trusted the people I loved, and that is not a mistake. Her mother shifts slightly, preparing to speak, but Linda raises her hand gently, stopping her. She continues, what you did was a choice, not a mistake, and not confusion, a choice. She turns to Jude. Her eyes hold his as she says, you looked at me every day and lied to me, not once, not twice, every single time I asked you what was wrong. Jude opens his mouth to respond, saying, Linda, I never meant to hurt you. But Linda cuts him off immediately, her voice still controlled as she says, you do not get to explain this in a way that makes you feel better. You knew exactly what you were doing. Jude's words stop. Linda then turns to Martha. She takes a step closer. Her voice lowers slightly, but becomes even more direct as she says, you stood beside me. You listened to me talk about my life with him. You smiled with me. You planned this with me. Martha's expression tightens, but she does not look away. Linda continues, and at the same time, you were building something with him behind me. Martha finally speaks, her voice controlled as she says, I did not plan for it to happen like this. Linda shakes her head slowly. She responds immediately, but you did not stop it either. Linda steps back slightly. Then she looks at her mother. Her voice becomes firm as she says, and you knew, maybe not from the beginning, but you knew enough to make a decision. Her mother straightens, responding defensively. I did what was necessary to protect this family. Linda replies without hesitation. You protected an image, not me. Her mother's expression hardens, but Linda is no longer affected by it. Linda stands still for a moment after everything has been said. Then she takes a breath and continues. Her voice is steady as she says, I am not staying here to fight for something that was already taken from me. She looks at all of them one last time. Then she adds, you can have what you choose. I am choosing myself. She turns and walks toward the door. Then she opens it and walks out. Linda walks along a quiet street. The city moves around her. Cars passing, people walking, life continuing. Daniel appears ahead, walking toward her. He slows down as he reaches her. He looks at her carefully, then asks, are you okay? Linda looks at him. She answers clearly, I am not where I used to be, but I am no longer where they left me. Daniel nods slowly. He tells her, that is how you know you are moving forward. Linda allows a small, genuine smile. They begin to walk side by side. Later, Linda stands alone on a rooftop, overlooking the city. The sky stretches wide above her. She looks out at everything in front of her. She places her hand gently in front of her. Her posture is relaxed and her breathing steady. She's at peace with herself. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the final part of A Sister's Betrayal. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more.